Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I am Jason Whitlock, your host. Happy Monday. Awesome show planned for you today. I'm going to erupt with a fire starter to end all fire starters about Coach Prime. Deion Sanders, buckle up. It's going to be great. At some point, we'll invite Steve Kim into the conversation, but I don't know. I can't predict when that will be because your boy's about to go off. I had an epiphany over the weekend about this whole thing, and I'm ready to state my final conclusions on the whole Coach Prime experiment. This is what I love about this show. It's the only place where you can get an honest conversation about anything going on in the sports world. You don't have to like what I say, but it is honest. And it's not sitting around with my finger in the air trying to figure out which way the wind is blowing. It's not me sitting around going, oh my God, I wonder how social media is going to react. Are they going to hate me? It's not me trying to be a groupie and be friends and get invited to Boulder, Colorado to hang out with Deion. It's the unfiltered truth or one man's opinion about what is going on in the sports world. That's why you and all your friends should be tuning in. I want to before I start emoting, erupting, before I start this fire, I want to take care of one of our great inspirations. I hate to even call him a sponsor. There's just one of our inspirations for the show to clear up some room and some space. So when I get into this conversation, I can just go and not be worried about, let me take care of some business. Preborn. You guys know how much we here at Fearless care about preborn, and we here at Fearless support the mindset that life begins at conception. And there's no organization that supports life more passionately, more substantially, more substantively, that's what I meant, more substantively than preborn. Preborn provides expectant mothers who are questioning whether or not to give birth. They provide them an ultrasound. They introduce that baby in the womb to the mother. They introduce him with an image, with a heartbeat, with an ultrasound. Ultrasound costs $28. The money that we give goes directly to fund those ultrasounds. When a woman hears that baby's heartbeat, sees that image, she is more than twice as likely to choose life and to keep that baby. Preborn then steps up and does the real work of supporting that woman through her pregnancy and through the first 2 years of that baby's life outside the womb. As fearless soldiers, as men, and as women, there's nothing we could do more courageous, more heroic, more appropriate, more God-pleasing than supporting life in the womb. The way we do that is by supporting preborn. Preborn has saved nearly 250,000 babies' lives since its existence. You guys saw me bring Dan Steiner in, the founder of Preborn, so that I could spend some time with him, so that you all could get to know him, so that we could trust that the money we give to Preborn is going exactly where it's supposed to go, not to pay some executive some six-figure salary, but to support ultrasounds and babies in the womb. That's where our money goes. There's two ways to give. There's the pound 250, say the keyword baby. And then there's the Jason Whitlock way of preborn.com/Jason. All right, now that we've taken care of our great friends at Preborn, let me take care of you guys with this fire starter. This morning, as I watched Deion Sanders' second interview with 60 Minutes, it occurred to me that Coach Prime has more in common with Roy Johnson than Herman Boone. Johnson, a high school football coach, inspired the HBO documentary BS High. Boone, a high school football coach, inspired the movie Remember the Titans. Every football coach would love to be compared to Herman Boone. He led T.C. Williams High to an undefeated season and a state championship in 1971, while healing racial divisions within the team in Alexandria, Virginia. No one wants to be compared to Roy Johnson. He used an affiliation with a church to create a fake prep school, Bishop Sycamore, that lost virtually every game it played while utilizing college-age players. Johnson claimed he was called by God to build BS High. Deion Sanders, for the second time in a calendar year, told 60 Minutes that he was called by God to rebuild a second college football program. Take a look. So, of the many things that Deion Sanders has done and said that make me uncomfortable with his short tenure at Colorado, it is his insistence on defining his actions as God-inspired that bothers me the most. Money and security motivated Deion's relocation to Boulder, Colorado. Nothing else. God had nothing to do with it. Deion wanted to escape the poverty and crime of Jackson, Mississippi, where he spent a little more than 2 years coaching at Jackson State University. I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with Deion lying about his motivation and lying about the brutal tactics he used to overhaul the Colorado roster. Again, let's take a listen to Deion Sanders on 60 Minutes last night. No one is spewing and hearing more lies this football season than Deion Sanders. He's college football's golden calf, an idol to be worshiped by sports broadcasters, social media influencers, and sports fans ruled by racial idolatry. He's won three major college football games, and people are hailing him as the modern-day Bear Bryant. It's a joke. The 19th ranked Buffaloes are greatly overrated. In-state rival Colorado State outplayed them on Saturday and gave the game away with self-inflicted wounds. The transfer portal, NIL, and the total abandonment of ethics has fueled Colorado's so-called miraculous turnaround. You cannot compare what Deion Sanders is doing to the turnaround efforts of previous coaches, because before the last 2 or 3 years, no coach had the opportunity to overhaul their entire roster in one season. Great coaches were tasked with the job of coaching the kids they inherited better than their predecessor. Let me walk you through that. Take Bill Snyder coming to Kansas State University in the early 1990s, I believe, or late 80s, late 80s, I believe. That guy pulled off the Manhattan Miracle. He took over a terrible program. A new coach is allowed, or will, back in that era, maybe you can run off 5, 10 players. Maybe. And you can bring in some JUCOs or a transfer or two. Maybe. But what you primarily do is coach the guys you inherited, utilize them better than your predecessor. And then over the course of 2, 3, 4 years, then you replace them with guys you recruited. That was how you used to turn around a program. Bill Snyder, Nick Saban taking over somewhere, these guys couldn't snap their fingers and bring in 85 new players. Deion is not the mastermind of a miracle turnaround. He's a brand that Colorado purchased and gave a blank check to buy players and coaches. Let me repeat that. Deion Sanders is not the mastermind of some incredible turnaround. Deion, what we've seen from him in press conferences, what I see from him in 60 Minutes, he's just a brand that they bought to be the face of their program. He's an avatar. And then they said, Deion, here's a check. Go out and buy all the players you want. We'll make them name, image, and likeness deals. And go out and buy any of the coaches you want. We'll overpay them to be the offense and defensive coordinators and the assistant coaches. He's a brand with a blank check to buy a team. Let me be clear. I don't have a problem with it. That's how the game is played right now. That's how college football and college sports have collapsed from an ethics perspective, from a fairness perspective. That's the way the game runs now. Cut a check, buy coaches, buy players. Got it. I don't have a problem with it. My problem is with Deion and the people selling it as some sort of righteous, godly, black empowering movement. It's none of those things. It's a money grab by all parties, Deion and the University of Colorado. It's elitist and privileged. If you actually knew what you were watching Saturday night when Colorado played Colorado State, you could see the fraudulence everywhere. You could see it in pregame, you could see it during the game, you could see it at halftime, you could see it postgame, you can see it on 60 Minutes. The fraudulence was everywhere Saturday. If you know what you're looking for, if you're an objective observer, if you have a set of standards and values that you stick to. The man claiming God as his motivating force invited the gangster rap world to his locker room, to his sidelines, to Boulder, Colorado, and everywhere. Play the video. I think we have a video of Lil Wayne lead them out of the locker room doing his little rap song. Let's start there. Do we have that, Justin? Can we play that? Let's start there. That's Lil Wayne leading them out of the locker room. This ain't Kirk Franklin leading them out of the locker room. It's Lil Wayne. So the man claiming that God did this and God did that, that's Lil Wayne. Not Rance Allen, who's dead, God rest his soul. It ain't Tasha Cobbs. It's Lil Wayne. It ain't Lauren Daigle. It ain't nothing to do with Christian. Now let's go to the video of Key Glock, some Memphis rapper connected to Young Dolph. Let's go to that video inside the locker room rapping to these guys. That's inside the locker room. This is, it's just Key Glock is his name. Signed with Young Dolph. Young Dolph is the dude that got murdered in Memphis. The little wannabe thug that got murdered in Memphis. This is one of his artists called Key Glock. I think his name is Marcavius or whatever. That's where the key comes from. The Glock is the gun. Glock. That's in his locker room. That's the guy telling everybody, oh, God told me to do this, God that. On the sidelines, Lil Wayne, Key Glock, The Rock, Master P, Offset, the whole rap community, the whole gangster rap community. That's who Deion front and centered for all of Boulder, Colorado. But this is a God thing. And I'm supposed to be good with it. I'm supposed to allow this man to sit up and package what he's doing as a God thing, and I'm just supposed to let it ride. He can wrap up God however he wants. He can attach it to all these secular wannabe thugs, all of that debauchery, all of that foolishness. He can attach it to that and say, oh, this is a God thing. I'm doing this for God. Really? Stop it. Stop the lying. This is a money thing. It's a radical materialist thing. And this has nothing to do with uplifting black people. This has everything to do with uplifting himself and other elites. Black elites love pretending They're taking bold public stances for the betterment of the working class and poor black people. Oh my God, I'm just here for my people. George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Trayvon Martin and Ahmaud Arbery. I'm doing all of this for you. I'm taking these bullets for you. It's BS. Absolute and utter BS. Think this through. Boulder, Colorado. Black population, less than 1%. Less than 1%. But this is the blackest thing in the world. God led me to my people in Boulder, Colorado. My people just happen to be less than 1% black in Boulder, Colorado, but this is where God told me to go. Deion packed up his brand and relocated and evacuated Jackson, Mississippi, a city that's 83% black, to enrich a city with virtually no black people. You evacuated Jackson, Mississippi, 83% black, so you could go make money for yourself and the people in Boulder, Colorado, and the businesses in Boulder, Colorado, where less than 1% is black. Black power. That's how we keep it real. Black power. Deion is pretending, and he got asked this question post-game. They compared him to John Thompson in Georgetown, Hoya paranoia. John Thompson built a powerhouse program at a white school in a black city, Washington, D.C. Deion is a black brand being used to benefit a white school in a white city. Black power. Black power. This is so fraudulent. All the bandwagon black sports fans ditching their Jackson State hoodies for Colorado hoodies. You're selling out no different from Coach Prime. It's what we do. We love to talk Black Power and Black Wall Street and Tulsa, the Tulsa Massacre and Black Wall Street, while taking every opportunity to empower white liberals and enrich white Wall Street. The obvious fraudulence would be hilarious if it were not so sad. Black elites are the true face of white supremacy. They have no interest in ending oppression. They want to benefit from it. They hate the working class and the poor. They have no moral anchor, no firm set of values. Hypocrisy is their defining moral code. Saturday night's football game was a culture clash. It was elites versus the working class. If you have a set of morals, if your lenses aren't clouded with racial idolatry, you could see that game Saturday night for what it was. If no light bulb went off in your head, if you weren't sitting there like, man, I've seen this. I know what this is. This was elites versus working class. Colorado State represented the working class. It's a university with a $500 million endowment. Colorado represented the elites, a university with a $2 billion endowment. Let me give you an analogy that will work if you follow high school sports in your city. So where I grew up in Indianapolis, there was private Catholic high schools like Bishop Shedeur and Cathedral that were well funded, and they would cherry pick a handful of black athletes to come play for them. out of the inner city. And then there were the city schools like Arlington and Indianapolis Tech and Broad Ripple, and to a lesser degree, my high school, Warren Central at the time, that at that time was definitely working class, but it wasn't considered a city school like it is now. But we were public schools, and we all would sit around and complain about the private schools or the rich school Carmel. They would, not Carmel, but these Catholic schools, they would cherry pick the little handful of little black athletes that fit the profile. Yeah, you come in and you come play with us. You got the right SATs, you got the right parents. Your parents got you in Jack and Jill. And we hated Cathedral and Shedeur. And I say that we had jealousy, envy, we didn't like. My roommate from college, all 5 years, one of my best friends, like a brother to me, he went to Shedeur. He's one of the best human beings I know. I was friends with other guys from Shedeur, Damon Taylor, John Sam, other guys. But we didn't like Shedeur because it was the private school that was well-funded and only had a handful of black athletes that were all special and they got cherry-picked out. And so when the city schools would play a Shedeur or a Cathedral, oh, the city schools would get so amped up. They get so amped up and emotional. Oh, we're gonna stick it to this rich white man's school. Oh, we're gonna stick it to these little private school kids. And for me, at Warren Central, when we went to play Carmel, it was personal. Carmel was the super rich kids, all white, privileged, entitled. They had an attitude. They threw their wealth in your face. And I didn't need no extra motivation when we played Carmel. No one on the team did, black or white. And we had a mixed race team, but when we went to go play Carmel, it was special. And Carmel was good, really good. And I became friends with some guys later in life that were played on Carmel's team. But Carmel represented that privileged entitlement that we couldn't stand at Warren Central High School. And none of the city schools could stand them. And so we tried to put them on blast, and the game was personal. And so that's who Colorado is. They're Carmel, they're Bishop Shedeur. Deion's son is one of those private, entitled kids. Dude drives a Maybach. Before the game, this game Saturday, he's out flashing his Rolex in front of the Colorado State players. He's done it in virtually all these games. Wears a big gold chain, drips with all the arrogance of his father. Carmel kid, private school kid, rich kid. All the money and wealth and privilege supported Colorado. It was all on Colorado's sidelines. All them black elite millionaires, all on Colorado's sidelines. Colorado is basically Black Duke Blue Devils. And if you listen to the ESPN broadcast, Mark Jones and Louis Riddick, you would have thought Coach K was patrolling the sidelines for Colorado. You would have thought Mike Krzyzewski. You would have thought someone as accomplished as Mike Krzyzewski was patrolling the sidelines for Colorado. People used to make fun of Dick Vitale. They'd call him Dookie V, the way he would kiss Coach K's butt. Coach K had a record of accomplishment, a bunch of national championships, bunch of conference championships, years as the number one ranked team, bunch of results to back up people kissing his rear end. Deion's won 3 FBS football games. And Louis Riddick and Mark Jones and everybody in the media is treating him like he's Coach K. Like he's reinvented coaching. And I want you to think about how black sports fans and liberal sports fans, how they used to treat Duke like a pariah and call him racist and entitled and privileged. But now that the shoe's on the other foot, now that the black team is Duke and privileged and arrogant and entitled and hypocritical and real easy to dislike, oh, now that's special. That's the greatest thing in the world. Oh, and Coach Prime, he can do no wrong. He's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And you're wondering why Colorado State took the field with an attitude, with animus and emotion just bubbling from within that they couldn't control. They let their animus and emotion run too wild, and it cost them the game. I've seen this a million times. Seen it a million times. City school versus that rich entitled school loses its discipline because the anger and animus is run too high. They try to get too physical with them, and it ends up costing them the game. That's what happened Saturday. Colorado State lost that game because their animus and emotion ran too wild. If you're watching the game without your racial blinders on, and if you had a set of values that you actually stuck to, if you don't like Duke, if you don't like the rich private school that's dominating high school sports in your city, you wouldn't be rooting for Colorado and Deion Sanders. But because you don't have a set of standards, because you're controlled by racial idolatry, you can't see Deion and Colorado for what they are. BS High, Black Duke, fraudulent, just like BS High, using God as a shield to mask and cover up the lack of ethics and immorality. The money grab, the radical materialism of the whole thing, the sellout, the leaving of Jackson, Mississippi, your people, poor people in need who could benefit from the economic impact that you're delivering now for Colorado, for Boulder, Colorado. You were having an economic impact for a city, Jackson, Mississippi, that's 83% black, impoverished, people in need, at-risk kids, the George Floyds of the world. You were using your brand to benefit them. And as soon as the liberal white man cut you a check, you hightailed it to their neighborhood to deliver those financial benefits to them. Hats off to you. I got zero problem with it if you leave God out of it. It's not a God thing. It's a Deion thing. It's an elitist thing. It's a black elite thing. It's fraudulent. You took the money and ran. I get it. Jackson, Mississippi, it's a dangerous place. From what I understand, your kids were robbed. And again, you walking around with all that gold and they driving expensive cars. You put a target on your back in Jackson, Mississippi, where people are poor and desperate. Yeah, I get it. You want to get your kids to someplace safe. Admit that you move for money and security. Nothing wrong with that. People make that decision all the time. Quit calling it a God thing. That's Roy Johnson. That's BS High. It's fraudulent. And everybody in the media is selling this and celebrating it and pretending like, oh, this is some black move. You're a sellout too. You have no firm set of values and standards that you adhere to. You're controlled by racial idolatry. No way you could watch this man on 60 Minutes twice in the same calendar, not calendar year, but in the same year, the same 12-month span. Yeah, I came to Jackson State for God, and I came to Boulder, Colorado, and White Heaven. I did that for God too. You did it for the money. I'm always going to root against the elites. Always. Saturday night's game and Deion's latest 60 Minutes interview confirmed my suspicion that Deion, Coach Prime in particular, is a fraud. His relocation to Boulder isn't about God, black empowerment, of kids not named Deion Sanders. It's all about Deion Sanders and nothing more. Cut it out. That's my fire starter. I've got more that I want to add in here. And you think I'm already in trouble, or you think I've already irritated people, but I'm going to take it a step further. Travis Hunter, the two-way player that got hurt and got taken to the hospital at the start of the third quarter. Everywhere you turn, after brutal illegal hit, Travis Hunter rushed to the hospital. Now he's out 3 weeks, and I'm listening to people claim that Travis Hunter should be, Henry Blackburn, he should be suspended. And this brutal hit that, knocked Travis Hunter out of the game, and this is terrible. And so I want to play you. Let's play the Skip Bayless quote. Let's play the Skip Bayless segment first from today. Here's Skip Bayless on Undisputed talking about Henry Blackburn. Let's watch.
For the record, Henry Blackburn is a 4-year starter at Colorado State. He's from Boulder, where in high school he was first-team All-State as a receiver and a safety. He's a smart kid who knew exactly what he's doing. This was no kamikaze freshman thrown into the fire and played out of his mind. He knew exactly what he was setting out to do, which is hit Travis Hunter as often as he could, even if it was a gray area a little bit after the whistle kind of hit. This was a lot after the whistle. This was blatant to me. This felt game planned to me. Let's hit him because he's going to go both ways. And that kid, of all the kids on the field, he knew how hard it is to go, what it's going to take out of him.
So, and I don't know what Michael Irvin and Keyshawn Johnson said immediately after that. And so hopefully what they should have said is like, let's pump the brakes here on demonizing Henry Blackburn. Yes, in today's modern football, that was a late illegal hit in today's modern football. Commonplace, in Michael Irvin's era, that's a commonplace play. That was not some over-the-top, super vicious hit. That was in the quarterback position, they used to call it a delivery sack, but it was kind of a delivery hit that safeties used to execute all the time. It was not a super vicious blow. Didn't use his helmet, didn't use his shoulder pad. But I'm not even trying to defend Henry Blackburn. Should have been flagged, and we've seen guys tossed for worse. But that's not the kind of hit that, according to reports now, he has a lacerated kidney and is going to miss 3 weeks. I think Deion has announced that he's going to miss 3 weeks. It's not the kind of hit that generally leads to that kind of injury. It was not that vicious of a hit. Only in today's modern world is that seen as a super vicious hit. If he had had the football and it got hit that way, no one would have thought it was a particularly hard hit that should lead to injury. And so No one's being a journalist here and saying, hold on, if he takes that hit in the game, no one bats an eye, no one thinks he should be that hurt. No one is sitting there thinking lacerated kidney, out 3 weeks. So it leads me to say, what don't we know? This kid had only played 8 games at Jackson State last year. He's injury prone. Why did that routine hit lacerate a kidney? Did he come into the game banged up? He's been playing both ways for 2 straight weeks. He's injury prone if you followed him last year. Again, he only played 8 games. He's not the thickest, most developed 19 or 20-year-old I've ever seen. He seems a bit injury prone. He's been playing both ways. Did he come into the game a little banged up? These are questions that will never be asked, will never be answered, we'll never talk about. Hey, let's just demonize Henry Blackburn and act like this is one of the most vicious hits in the history of football, and oh my God, Henry Blackburn must be suspended. Those are people arguing this are people that either know nothing about football or they're so deep in their Deion, Colorado worship that they've lost all objectivity. And then let me go to point 2 of this. Let me go to the extra point, the extra layer of this. Deion put a target on his team's back. Everything Deion has been doing has been putting a target on his team's back. Deion has been running out, and I'm talking about since February, when he held the team meeting and told, or January, whenever he went to Colorado and held the team meeting and told everybody, hit the transfer portal. I'm bringing Louis Vuitton here. I want 4- and 5-star kids here. I want the best here. When Deion did that, that's the process of putting a target on your team's back. When Deion came out week 1 after beating TCU and saying, oh, I'm about to get comfortable up in here, and everybody's threatening and frustrated, a black coach leading a locker room with 75% black players. Deion racialized this whole thing and put a target on his team's back. And so if you're wondering why Henry Blackburn and those white offensive linemen and ended up the black defensive end for Colorado State, all these guys that got all these unsportsmanlike conduct penalties trying to take little cheap shots at Colorado, where's that animus coming from? Again, I've seen this a million times. I've seen poor, working class, disrespected black kids go compete against the entitled, privileged, well-funded white kids and do exactly that. Oh, you think you better than us. You think we ain't nothing. You think we're beneath you. I'll show you. Seen it a million times. I've been one of them kids. And so now you can't see it because you're so blinded by your racial idolatry, racism, that you can't see that Deion has done this to white kids and to all the teams. Jay Norvell's black. His black defensive coordinator, they all fed into that energy that Deion has put out there, that he's better than everybody else. He's the greatest thing to ever hit coaching. He and his team, everybody's beneath us. Everybody's uncomfortable with us. The entire Colorado State team, starting with their black head coach, starting with their black defensive coordinator, they hit Boulder, Colorado with a chip on their shoulder and an attitude and told them kids in their locker room, black and white, these guys think you're beneath them. And so they took that field with that attitude and they took their shots. Just like I said, anybody that's watched and really understands sports among young kids, this has been going on for decades. For decades. Deion put a target, a bullseye on his kid's back with his bloviating and arrogance and all of the media. No different than when Jalen Rose went to go play Duke when he was at Michigan, and Chris Webber and Juwan Howard, and these guys took the court with an attitude about Duke because all of the media is worshiping Duke, and Duke can do no wrong, and the Duke kids are better than the Michigan kids, better than the UNLV kids, better than everybody. I've seen black athletes for decades tap into that energy and that emotion and that animus and that feeling of disrespect. And occasionally, they lose their mind and cross the line. That's what Henry Blackburn did. That's what I saw the Colorado State players do. But because Henry Blackburn's white, no one else can see it. Oh, he's just a racist, and he's just unfair, and he should be suspended for 6 or 7 games. There's no empathy for him because you're all frauds. None of the things you say you stand for, you actually stand for. You're a joke. You're racist. Deion put a bullseye on the backs of his players with his ego. And none of you are man or woman enough to call Deion out for it. Because you're idle, you're idolaters. You're groupies. Deion doesn't need any more groupies. He's had them his whole life, probably since about age 12, when it became so clearly obvious this guy was gifted with ungodly physical talents. He's had groupies since then. He's certainly had groupies at Florida State and throughout his whole NFL and Major League Baseball career. Now here he is, 56, and I'm looking at the same group of groupies being groupies for him now as a football coach, and you're all stirring the animus and the emotion and putting a target on those players' backs. And so, once again, miss me with, oh, Deion knows exactly how to take care of Travis Hunter. He's been in that position, and Deion is the perfect coach for Travis Hunter. Deion put Travis Hunter in the crosshairs. Deion's attitude, let's play the clip of Travis Hunter before the game out mimicking Deion Sanders, beefing and talking smack with the Colorado State players. Play the clip.
Oh my God, really? You talking about name smoke? Hey, smoke. You talking about
That's the attitude, and that's just the tip of the iceberg of what's going on with the Colorado football team before every game with the opposition. Deion created this atmosphere. Oh, it's personal. Remember, Deion, oh, the guy said something about me wearing sunglasses in the press conference. Oh, it's personal. Let me pretend like I'm super offended. And so, oh, he's talking about my mama. It's personal now. Y'all don't understand. The personal thing, it's a two-way street. It's personal with the other team, too. And so when they have a chance to take their shot, they're going to take it. They're going to get everybody's A game and their extracurricular activities because they're inviting it. They want to be the rich, pampered, entitled. Let me show you my Rolex watch. Let me show you my gold chains. Let me show you how much better I am. And you're wondering why they're sneaking in little hits at Travis Hunter? We know corporate media is garbage. We know. And that none of this stuff can be discussed there. But this conversation is so important in trying to understand the danger of what Deion is doing. And just like Deion said to 60 Minutes that, what did he say? We lie so much, we can't even recognize the truth anymore, and kids need truth. Adults need the truth too. And people will hear this, and I can already the comments, oh, Whitlock just hates Deion. I don't hate Deion. I really don't. He just needs to be confronted with the truth of what it is he's doing. Leave God out of it, and then accept responsibility for what it is you're doing. You've put your kids in harm's way. And you've taken an injury-prone player who only played 8 games last year at Jackson State, and you're running him out there 120 plays a game at the FBS level. And oh my God, he got hurt in game 3. And now he can't play for 3 weeks. But Coach Prime knows exactly how to handle Travis Hunter. And it's all Henry Blackburn's fault. If it wasn't for that colonizer, Henry Blackburn, I could still be playing Travis Hunter 120 plays a game and milking this young athlete for my benefit. Think Deion's gonna play either one of his boys 2 ways, 120 plays a game? Think he's gonna do that? But Travis Hunter, yeah, let's run him out there like a rented mule. And then when he does take a hit and get hurt, hey, let's throw him back out there both ways for the rest of the second quarter. Because you know what? The rigged up media that worships and kiss my rear end, they're going to blame Henry Blackburn. No one's going to question me. Because I'm pampered, privileged, and entitled, and hypocritical, and I get to be worshiped because I'm black, and everybody's afraid to be called racist if they say anything about Deion Sanders. I got more. I got a lot that I got to get off my chest. Let me see if I can remember it. Oh. Thank you. I'm glad I want to play the clip of Deion's lack of self-awareness. Just total lack of self-awareness. This man had the audacity to go into his post-game press conference Saturday night and talk about what Jay Norvell, Colorado State coach, would have said had they won. This is unbelievable. Let's play the clip.
Truthfully, it's one point in the game I said, we can't let this dude win. There ain't no way we let this dude win. You know, his press conference is going to be unbearable if we let this dude win.
This man had the audacity to say that another man would be unbearable in a post-game press conference if they won. And that statement wasn't met with laughter and or derision in that press conference. We just watched Deion after week 1 come running into a press conference talking about the receipts and calling everybody out, yelling at Ed Werder about, do you believe now? Blah, blah, blah. We've never seen a single coach in my memory. You all correct me in the comments, chat, send me an email. Maybe we've seen another coach do what Deion did after the TCU game, but I can't remember it, not off the top of my head. This dude won one game and came in and acted like he had won 6 national titles and started "I told you so" to people that have never done anything to him, including Ed Werder. But he's, oh God, if Jay Norvell wins, he'll be unbearable. Are you kidding me? Then I want to play you and just imagine if this had been some other coach other than the very protected and entitled Deion Sanders. A reporter asked Deion about his starting center. Watch Deion's response.
Can you talk about Hank Zelinkis? He was a true freshman that got to start today at center. Hank Zelinkis.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking Hank.
Yeah, he got to start as a true freshman today at center. Can you talk about him?
It's hard. I was watching how everything flowed. I haven't watched film to see how he really performed, but he stepped up, and that's what this business is a next man up type of business. So I'm proud that he stepped up. I haven't watched the game film to really give you a true evaluation on how he did.
Can we play that clip again? I want to play the clip again, just because I want to give you all a chance to rewatch it, rehear it, and I want you to ask yourself, does Deion even know who his starting center is? I don't believe he does. Play the clip.
Can you talk about Hank Zelinkis? He was a true freshman that got to start today at center. Hank Zelinkis.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking Hank.
Yeah, he got to start as a true freshman today at center. Can you talk about him?
It's hard. I was watching how everything flowed. I haven't watched film to see how he really performed, but he stepped up, and that's what this business is a next man up type of business. So I'm proud that he stepped up. I haven't watched the game film to really give you a true evaluation on how he did.
So if Deion knew who Hank Zelinkis was and was just caught off guard, here's what he would have said. After the who? The who is the first clue. But the real clues come afterwards, after that, once he's told who he is. He still doesn't know the man. He has no idea. Couldn't spot him in a police lineup, is my guess. Because instead of saying, oh, that's real hard, I haven't watched the film, what you would say is, hey, anytime you put an 18-year-old kid into a game of this magnitude in front of that crowd of freshmen, hey, when we recruited that kid out of Cherry Creek High School or whatever high school he came from, we thought there was a chance he might play early on. I'm not surprised he stepped up. My son Shedeur raves about this kid. We thought he could handle this situation, and he did, but I'll have to watch the tape before I can give you a detailed analysis. Deion never uttered a single syllable like he knew who this kid was on his team, the starting center. And there's a difference between a center and a guard. There's a difference between a center and a nose tackle. Center is quarterback QB exchange. He works very closely with Deion's son, Shedeur. Deion don't even know who he is. But y'all think he's Nick Saban. Y'all think he's the greatest coach that's ever hit college football. Deion Sanders is an avatar, a brand that Colorado has bought and paid for to raise money for Boulder, Colorado. That's all. He's a spokesman for Boulder, Colorado, and the University of Colorado. That's it. He's not coaching the team. He's hired some great assistants. Not taking it, and that is part of a head coach's job. But Deion does interviews and promotes Boulder, Colorado. That's his job. He's not connected to any of those kids, not named Shedeur or Shiloh. Not in a real way. Trust me, and we'll see it play out. Deion's son goes down with some sort of injury. We'll see if Deion just throws him back out into the game. We'll see if Deion ever plays either one of his sons 120, 130 snaps. We'll see. I think it's unlikely. And it's a great story. Deion and Travis Hunter. Travis is like a son to me. Deion don't even know his starting center's name. And trust me, there's a good chance if the starting center was named Jamal or Lay Anthony, Deion would probably know who he is. But his name's Hank Zelinkis. He's a white kid from Colorado. Deion don't even know him. And the media doesn't care. Because everybody's all in on it. This I think for right now, that's my fire. Post-fire. We'll bring Steve Kim in, let him participate in this conversation. And I want to tell you all about a great new sponsor that's jumped on board. CB Distillery offers a full range of carefully formulated CBD and other plant-based solutions, packed with whole-body healing plant compounds and vital nutrients, 100% clean ingredients, no artificial colors, flavors, or preservatives, recommended by Dr. Kevin Frey of the Mayo Clinic, trained internist and preventative health specialist. If you're frustrated with a health concern that's not getting better, try CBD from the source I trust, CBD Distillery, cbdistillery.com. Need better sleep? 90% of customers report better sleep with CBD. Could you use more calm? 81% say CBD helps with stress and anxiety. Suffering with pain after exercise? 80%, including yours truly, report less pain after physical activity. Enjoy better focus and concentration, and your new headquarters for CBD products is cbdistillery.com. With over 2 million customers, they are the source that I trust the most. I'm using this stuff personally. My mother and sister-in-law are using this stuff to help them with their sleep. Some benefits of using CBD are it helps the body recover after physical activity. That's when I use it. It improves the quality of your sleep. That's when my mother and sister-in-law use it. And it can also provide you with a little peace and calm during your busy day. Let me get you on the right path with my 20% discount. Visit cbdistillery.com. Enter my promo code FEARLESS for your discount. No prescription is required. That's cbdistillery.com. Promo code FEARLESS for 20% off. Use this stuff myself. My mom and my sister-in-law are using it to help with their sleep. cbdistillery.com. Steve Kim, the Korean Cosell, next.
Previously on Fearless.
I'll say this to everyone. He was the best trash talker I ever played against. The bad news was he backed it up.
Chris Carter.
Most people who are the best trash talkers never
They
back
just
it
talk
up.
trash, yeah. Chris Carter was the best because Chris Carter never cussed. I mean, he would rip you in half. And, I mean, not one mild word out of his mouth.
Is that possible?
Yes. Chris Carter is the master of it. I watched him tell one of my teammates one time, he said, man, how long you been in the league? And I'm thinking in my mind, do not talk to him. Please, Jesus, do not talk to him. This is the Jedi mind trick. You about to fall in the trap. Don't do it. 3 years, dog. I'm like, oh, my God. He said, don't you think it's about time for you to take advantage of the dinner program and get that there fixed? So now my teammate turns and looks at me and I got him. I told you don't talk to him.
Yeah, 모두 다 빨리 박수 쳐 기다리지 말고 서둘러 Isn't that I'm back just to feed you raps I see that you are 배불러 So fly
All right, welcome back. Time for some Korean co-sell, Steve Kim. Steve, I just spent an hour analyzing Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, and I started with an analogy that I thought of you when I made it. Thought you would appreciate it. I watched Deion on 60 Minutes last night. I watched the Saturday Night Football game with Colorado State, and Deion Sanders reminds me of Coach Roy Johnson from BS High School more than Herman Boone from Remember the Titans. Am I out of bounds?
Right now, you're reminding me of Andrew Galata. What a low blow. Look, Deion, look, is now become an exalted, protected figure. I don't disagree. But Roy Johnson, come on. Colorado is a legitimate football team. It's not Bishop Sycamore. But I will say this. I believe
You think the Colorado football players are going to school? You think the Colorado football players are going to school?
Well, you could say that about any major program. I mean, let's just be honest about it.
I asked about Colorado.
Well, I would hope that they are, because most of them, by percentage, will not have a career after the age of 25 in the game of life. The truth. If you just look at it, even the ones that make the NFL by age 27, you better have some other skills. But with that being said, I think this has to be pointed out, though. I thought Coach Prime was the second best coach on that field for much of the night on Saturday. I've got to give Norvell credit. He did a hell of a job preparing his team, and they punched a group of players in the mouth that thought that this was just some sort of show, that they were just going to be jobbers out here. And halfway through, I'm thinking, this is one of the most fascinating ideological battles played out over a football field I've ever seen. I really did. I don't think Colorado understood what they are now. They are now the hunted. Travis Hunter out there prancing around, pretending like he wants to fight, talking about all bark, no bite. He didn't realize, Travis, you are now the hunted. And look, it was a cheap shot, but when you act the way Colorado does, okay, you now have a target. And teams like Colorado State, they now act like they are the marginalized and oppressed, and they're going to play with the chip on their shoulder. I actually thought the way Colorado State played was highly enjoyable, and it harkened back to a better time and place in football when it was truly a gladiator sport and it mattered. The best thing about that game was when that game ended, no one was swapping jerseys. I mean, there's some raw feelings, and I said, you know what? I don't know if it's one of the best games I've seen, because there was a lot of sloppiness, a lot of mistakes. I didn't like some of the officiating. But, Jason, I'm not going to lie to you. I thought it was high drama out there in Boulder, Colorado. I enjoyed that.
It was high drama. What do you think of my contention that Deion put that target on his kid's back, that all of his antics?
There's no doubt about it. And if you're going to act like this, you better be prepared to scrap and battle. The one thing that got me was when I'm watching some of the pregame stuff, I'm at the fights at Commerce Casino, but I'm obviously, my laptop is on ESPN, the app. And I'm watching these two teams gather at midfield, and I said to myself, I guarantee you the Colorado State players are willing to fight right now. They're the ones with nothing to lose. They're the kids from the wrong side of the street or the wrong side of the track. They're the scrappers. They're the blue-collar workers. The Colorado guys, you know, they have a lot more to lose. They have brands. They have images. And they don't want to get into that battle. They don't want to get their nose dirty. And I thought for most of that game, Colorado State took it to Colorado. And that's what I don't think Colorado players understand now. You have a target on your back, and the sense of entitlement that's something that you have, they're going to be gunning for you. And I think it's kind of funny that all the whining I'm seeing from the media, oh my God, Colorado did this and the guy should, oh, get out of here. From former players to say that, understanding what goes on with bounties that have been going on for years, let's be honest about it, taking players out, and the physical, violent nature. I have a question. If Colorado takes a cheap shot at somebody and blows out a guy's knee, will they call for a suspension of any Buffalo player? I think not. I think not.
All right, you don't like my Roy Johnson comparison. How about my Coach K Duke comparison?
Ooh,
That's what Colorado is.
I kind of sort of see where you're going with it, because when you look at Duke basketball, when it was at its peak, they kind of were that posh private school with the sense of entitlement, with the top 100 players. They're the ones with the blue chip All-Americans. And yeah, I actually do see it in how the media just fawns all over them. I just find it amazing how none of the media or anyone who can't, they're not even allowed to criticize Deion or Coach Prime or Colorado. It's gotten to a point where now it's become the Charlemagne the God Joe Biden interview. If you don't root for Colorado and Prime, you ain't black. Like, I'm seeing that all over Twitter. Like, there's a civil war within Miami Hurricane fans about are we allowed to root for Prime because Warren Sapp is wearing a jersey and Michael Irvin and The Rock. And I just think it's really interesting. There are going to be dissenting opinions on Deion Sanders. What I'm finding now to be very dishonest about the coverage is that, oh, this is the modern day Miami Hurricanes and they're just like them. I'm actually insulted by that comparison. That's like comparing the Temptations to Milli Vanilli. I think one was very authentic. And by the way, those Hurricanes in the 80s, they were demonized by the media. It was not actually a safe thing to be what they were. I don't look at the Colorado Buffaloes as a renegade program. I look at them in certain respects, and people aren't going to like this. But you know that white party that everyone has before Labor Day with all the famous people that aren't really like us, normal? That's what they are. They're the white party. I mean, you look at that sideline, and I have a question for all those people that say that we are supporting Prime and Colorado. Jason, can we be honest? If they were 1-2 or 0-3, would they be going to Boulder? And if this is about the black issue of black coaches, I have a question to these very fine people. Where were you when John Embry was the first black coach at Colorado? Where were you when Carl Durrell was the last coach? Where were you when Mel Tucker was there for about 9 months? 4 of the last 5 Colorado coaches have been black. I have a question. How many of you people that are making this an issue and guilting other people into liking Deion, how many of you are supporting Dino Babers right now, who's a really good football coach, who has a tough job at Syracuse? I mean, seriously, if you're going to, and by the way, let's forget about this. If it truly was a cultural issue, and this is why you're rooting for Deion, just remember this. He left an HBCU for a PWI. These are just the facts. Just the facts.
I don't even know if I would call Colorado a PWI. I might call them an all-white university. I mean, literally, just think of Miami, and they're being compared to the U. It's in Miami, one of the most diverse cities in the planet. When I heard the other report, they compared them to Georgetown and John Thompson and Hoya Paranoia, and I'm like, oh, in D.C.? Your kid in Washington, D.C.? Deion's in Boulder, Colorado. Less than 1% of the population is black. And he's making it rain on all of those businesses in Boulder, Colorado. Boy, they're going to reinvent Black Wall Street in Boulder, Colorado. I'll wait. That ain't happening. The whole thing is just fraudulent.
Yeah, but Jason, let me give Coach Prime some credit. When was the last time you cared about the Colorado State game? And when was the last time you cared about a game of that nature where one team was a 23-point underdog or a favorite? I don't know what you were doing on Saturday, but as soon as the fight that ended, where I was at the Commerce Casino, William Zepeda fought Mercito Hesta. Soon as that fight ended, my laptop closed, and I was running out to my car like it was Hertz with O.J. Simpson. I could not wait to get home and catch the rest of that second half. And I was enthralled in what was supposed to be a relatively uneventful week of college football. Ended up being a lot better, and that's the main reason, because of that. I give Deion credit. He makes it to a point that when Colorado plays, many more people care about college football and whatever game he's involved in. For that, I think you have to give him credit, Jason.
I do give him credit for that, and you know, give him a cookie for it as well, I guess. But and look, I watched every drop of that game from start to finish. I watched every drop. I was up well past 1 a.m. and that I don't know if I've been up past 1 a.m. in 2 or 3 years. But Steve, if you had listened to me, and maybe you thought I was bluffing, but I told you this was a fourth quarter football game last week, and the Colorado's overvalued. I had, and just being transparent, I had money on the money line on Colorado State because I thought they were going to win, and I certainly had them plus 23.5 points. And it's because I truly believe that. Colorado is overvalued, and they've put a target on themselves. And I knew that Colorado State would come in there. Colorado's offensive line's no good. Defense is suspect. Even when Travis Hunter was out there, the defense was getting handled. He was not making a bunch of plays. And on offense, he fumbled the ball. The other thing, Steve, and this is where people upset with me over the weekend, this whole narrative that Travis Hunter, it was this hit, and Travis Hunter, he had to leave the game, and he should be suspended. Henry Blackburn should be suspended forever, and it's, what a dirty hit. First of all, that hit wasn't that vicious. It was worthy of a penalty, and in today's modern game, if they had kicked him out, wouldn't have been a big deal to me, wouldn't have been unfair. But that hit used to be commonplace in football. Commonplace. Every game there would be a hit like that, and no one thought it was a big deal, and certainly guys didn't suffer lacerated kidneys every time they take a shot like that, because if they did, it says Travis Hunter's brittle. And so the lack of questioning about what is going on with Travis Hunter blows my mind. The guy's been playing 122 snaps per game. He gets hit in the first quarter, plays the second quarter, leaves the game. Did he come into the game already banged up? Anytime you've been playing 120 snaps a game, that's a possibility. Anytime your freshman season was marred by injuries where you only played 8 games, you have to wonder about, hey, what was his health going into the game? How did he get back into the game? I thought Deion was all about the kids. I think there are some fair questions to ask rather than, Henry Blackburn, and what a dirty hit. That was a routine hit that 99 out of 100 times doesn't cause any injury at all. This guy had to be rushed to the hospital. There are questions to be asked here other than just pointing a finger at Henry Blackburn.
Yeah, and you could also make the argument, if you really cared about the career health and safety of Travis Hunter, you wouldn't have played him that many snaps to begin with, and you would have said, son, you're going to concentrate on one position so we can help your NFL draft status. Okay? We're not going to allow you to be Gordy Lockbaum. That's a long time ago. We're going to let you be Charles Woodson. You get a certain amount of plays. We're going to create a package for you, but you're going to be a first-round cornerback, and that's where you're going to make your money. But as for the hit, when you actually watch the hit in real time, look, and there is an evolution of the sport. It has certainly changed. I saw hits from Kareem Jackson yesterday that people are talking about him getting thrown out, and that used to be what Ronnie Lott and Kenny Easley did 10 times every year. And now it's to a point where the offensive players are upset if you hit them too hard. The game has become soft. Look, it still takes a special type of human being to do this at a high level. Got to give them credit. But to think that it's the game that we watched in the 80s and 90s, for better or worse, it's simply not true. And just looking ahead, Jason, at the Colorado schedule, I looked it up before I came on here. Boy, let's put it this way. On that alarm clock, I think it's 11:59 and 45 seconds, because starting from this week, there's only 2 games I think they're going to be favored to win. That's Arizona State and Stanford. Everything else is the Pac-12 gauntlet.
I'm not sure they beat Arizona State, and if they had lost this week, the entire season would have been over. Because here's what would have happened and will eventually happen at Colorado, and it may not be till next season. It may not be till the 3rd season if he stays there that long. But here's what's going to happen, and certainly would have happened. They lose last night, turn around, lose to Oregon, USC, and they're 2-3. And Deion's not going to have any discipline, and he's going to start making all kinds of public comments about how he needs more Louis and how he needs more dogs. And everybody in that locker room, not named Sanders, is going to know, oh, Deion's looking to replace me as soon as he can find a better player. And once that happens and that mindset sits in, all the chemistry, poof, goes away at Colorado, and it's total chaos and disorder for the rest of the season.
There's a possibility of it, but I have to give Deion some credit. He's more measured than you think. I don't think he's always neon. I'm being serious. I think he has more intelligence than you give him credit for, Jace. He's a football.
No. Hold, stop. I'm not questioning his intelligence. I'm questioning his arrogance. He has no control over his ego. That's why he says undisciplined things. I'm not calling Deion stupid. Deion knows exactly what he's doing. Roy Johnson knows exactly what he's doing. These guys are hype machines. They're hustlers by nature. They're really smart, but egos run amok.
Boy, the Roy Johnson one, boy, I don't know if you can come back from that one, Jay. Because, by the way, they didn't just.
That's a high.
I will say this. People just didn't hit you over the weekend, Jason. It's been about a week and a half. I got to give you credit. You're on a pretty good streak. I mean, Black YouTube is not happy with you, Jason. I'm going to tell you that right now. But
he's a high-class Roy Johnson, Steve. I'm going to tell you why you can't see it. It's because you're not a religious person. You're not a Christian. This guy running around calling himself a Christian, but Key Glock, Lil Wayne, Master P, Offset, every rapper come to Boulder. That is classic. His son and all this Rolex flexing and Maybach. They showed a clip of Deion on the sideline in the first quarter. You didn't see this. Deion helping his son put his gold chain back on shortly after he did the pick 6 touchdown. What head coach wastes time helping a kid put their gold chain back on during a game?
Hey, by the way, speaking of Deion, can I give him credit for the most honest, brutal thing he's ever said? I judge my kids. I don't love them all the same. I've said that before because I've always had that feeling. There's no way in the world that one of your kids is going to Harvard or getting a football scholarship to Alabama as a top 50 player, and the other kids in the trench coat mafia dropping out with a 1.3 GPA. There's no way you could possibly love them the same. And Deion dropped a truth bomb like Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Points for that. But Jason, you're right. I believe that Colorado will start to come back down to earth. It will be very interesting to see how he deals with it because right now he's the talk of the town. He is the homecoming king. Everyone is bowing at his feet. But what's going to happen, though, when they lose a couple of games as they're expected to? Because I believe that game, the one thing that went through my mind, Jason, I'm sure you've been through it as a guy that played Division I football, that game in the fourth quarter, I thought started to seep into next week. that the emotional and physical toll that game took, if I'm Oregon and I'm Dan Lanning, I'm thinking, I'm sending a bouquet of roses to Jay Norvell saying, Jay, thank you. Thank you. It's already 21-0, and now you got to come to Autzen. And you could tell Dan Lanning said something really interesting at one of the Pac-12 media days or at his own press conference. When he was asked about Colorado leaving the conference, he just snidely said, what have they ever won? Big deal. They're leaving. So, and I'm like, ooh. And Dan Lanning is from that Kirby Smart school. He's old school. Dan Lanning in the back of his mind. He may not go all Jay Norvell. He's looking to put a beating on Colorado and send them out of the Pac-12 with a message.
If they put 60 on them, I wouldn't be surprised. Not at all. Look, man, if Colorado State cut in half their unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, they win that game by 10 points.
Yeah. Jason, I remember in the middle of the third, they had a drive going up by a touchdown, and they fumbled the ball. Then they missed. They should have been up 17 points going into the fourth.
The center snatched down the nose tackle for no reason on the I think it was long pass right before halftime that would have put him at the 3-yard line. Center snatched the guy down for no reason. They were completely undisciplined and cost themselves that game. I want to ask you one more thing, Kosa. I want to play this clip for you of Deion getting asked about his starting center and what you read into it. Let's play the clip of Deion's response when asked about Hank Zelinkus.
Can you talk about Hank Zelinkus? He was a true freshman that got the start today at center. Hank Zelinkus.
I'm sorry. I'm thinking Hank.
Yeah, he got the start as a true freshman today at center. Can you talk about him?
It's hard. I was watching how everything flowed. I haven't watched film to see how he really performed, but he stepped up, and that's what this business is a next man up type of business. So I'm proud that he stepped up. I haven't watched the game film to really give you a true evaluation on how he did.
Serious question, Steve. Serious question. Could Deion spot Hank in a police lineup? I'm asking in all seriousness.
Well, I mean, he's one of the white guys, so he probably stands out. But it's the center. Come on, how many people actually know the center on their football team? I mean, I do. Our guy is Matt Lee, great player. But come on, he's honest. There's no way a football coach on a sideline can look at a center unless it's maybe Dwight Stevenson.
No. That's not about an evaluation of his performance. At no point did Deion indicate he even knew who the kid was, because all he had to say was like, oh man, he and Shedeur was telling me about what a great week of prep they had. When we recruited this kid out of such and such high school, we thought he might play early. He has no clue who the kid is. He didn't have to talk about the guy's game. He could have just talked about the kid, but he's never met him, or he doesn't know who he is.
All right, I'm with you. He could have gone into Coach Speak 101. He's still a young coach. He's going to get, but it kind of reminds me, there was this Puerto Rican fighter out of Philadelphia. His name is Danny Garcia. And about 7-8 years ago, they had this big homecoming fight in Puerto Rico, except he's never actually been to Puerto Rico. So a couple of reporters, when he's there for his fight against Mauricio Herrera, spoke to him in Spanish, and all he could answer was, sí, claro. Sí, claro. Because it turned out he didn't know Spanish. So everything that was asked of him from the Puerto Rican press was, sí, claro, huepa, viva Puerto Rico. And it turned out he was a big fraud. That's kind of, he had his Danny Garcia moment, Deion. But Deion's a delegator. This is what he does as a head coach. He's the CEO. The CEO doesn't know every mid-level manager. They don't know everybody at Human Resources. Give the man a break, Whitlock. Jeez. Wow, that's bad.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you. Great job as always. We'll see you tomorrow. I know many of you are mad. I know you're groupies. I know that you're idolaters. It's just like Deion said. You need to hear the truth. We made the truth unrecognizable. I just gave you a big dose of it. Deal with it. We'll see you tomorrow.
No negotiation, my sister, no relation. We all just wanna have freedom. Sitting on a corner, never been alone. I'll break my back for freedom. Blessed, we are living, get back. We are receiving, all deceiving. We all wanna be free. We want